trying to remember how I
It's,
could
9:03, so let's call the meeting to order. Looks like we've got enough people. Okay. Now, has everybody had a chance to review the minutes, or do you want to take 2 minutes to look at them?
I didn't look at them, but that's because I wasn't here that meeting, and I thought,
I missed that meeting as well, so I can't correct
7
anything
minutes
that
I
I
didn't
missed.
Well, you can look for spelling instead.
well, there's that.
It looked okay with corrections, but I'm not good at it. I have a few quick corrections.
A few quick,
Cool.
So minutes were corrected and approved. Because we did have corrections.
Oh,
Yeah, there was a few.
2A.
So 2A minutes were corrected and approved. And then in number 4, can we replace the word ribbon with report, because technically that's what that was. It was a, I don't want to mislead anyone thinking, well, what do you mean a ribbon? It's a report. So the historical emails.
Without
Number
quotation.
4, yeah, just take that quote.
That might have been
out
spell check jump.
and just put in report, because it was a report. So it was. And then the next is under 5E. So the policies in the final review and editing by recreation department, and then it'll go to legal, right? I think that's what was
I'm
said.
not sure that it will.
No, it won't go to legal at all?
We already got feedback from legal.
Okay.
sorry, we jumped.
We're on E.
It's not a legal
5E.
document.
I'm not totally sure, yeah. It's going through
The
the
policy.
city, but I'm not sure that it will end up with legal, actually.
It's not a legal document, I don't think, that
Okay.
Okay.
it's not, it's not donating money you're thinking for it, essentially is what it comes down to.
Okay.
Create a policy.
Okay.
Yeah,
We
I
don't
think
have
that
to- we don't have
had
to
changed
do
from
our
what we thought,
advisors
but
for everything.
Okay.
I think we thought it was going to, but I don't
If
think
we find
it's
anything
any
in there
longer.
that seems like it should, then we will, but
So leave as is.
So,
I just, maybe just put by recreation department, because then that specifies who's reviewing and
I
editing.
think there's more.
Or is that
there's
more
folks
departments?
outside
Oh,
recreation. Trying
okay.
to say the city.
Oh, sorry, I misunderstood.
By city staff, then,
I-
because it's gonna
that's-
go through various departments. Who else would it go through then?
well, whichever their marketing folks,
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
stuff
sure.
that we're sending out.
And then below that in F, I think we need to probably insert the word help in between to get. So Brittany is checking on departments within the city that might be able to help
With this project.
get this
Yeah,
project completed. Yeah, I don't think the intention was ever to hand it off to another department to do, so I think insert the word help. And then in 6B, EDK board will meet with Karen, Cruz, and Maureen,
We did
not
not.
Brittany.
Yeah.
I mean, Brittany would have been welcome to come, but
I'll let you,
that meeting was,
I'll take that.
and we did, and we met with her, so we'll share more about that later, but yes. Karen. And then 8C, I think this really is a question for you all too. Am I misunderstanding this meeting with and working with St. Mary's Historical Society to create a list of events and then provide it to the Chamber of Commerce? Am I wrong in thinking that was the intent?
sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Could take.
Yeah,
So
I
perhaps we
believe
need to,
I wasn't even at the meeting, you know,
so
that's kind
perhaps
of
we
what
need to
the
put
intent
it.
was.
Well, first of all,
So
well,
No, I
it's
was
historical
about that.
groups
that
in
was
the
the reason it came
area
up.
and provide it to the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
Chamber of
That was
Commerce.
very
important.
That was your idea, and it was
Yes.
perfect. It was
Yeah.
just-
Chamber of
Yeah.
Commerce and also to the Visitors Association.
Oh, yes, that's, yes.
So to create a list of events
So,
and historical groups.
If
In
it's
the
a,
area, and then provide it.
would that be on a monthly basis or how
I don't know, I think, you know,
We can talk about that on
annually,
that part of the agenda, but
Yeah,
I'll follow up
yeah.
about it, I think.
but I
They
think,
have an
like,
annual list, and then if we need to include and add extra, we
Morning,
can.
Hi, Kristen.
Hello, everyone. I'm so sorry I'm late. Who cares? Oh, well, we'll talk about that.
Okay,
But I
so the
just
wording
think
is to create a list of events and historical groups in the area.
events of historical groups in the area, a list of events of historical groups in the area, and provide it to the Chamber of Commerce.
And,
And
and the Longmont Area's Visitors Association.
Wow.
LAVA,
Lava.
LAVA. Because that was the intent, just to get it out to the public, so everyone knows.
So if we have people coming to town, they know where to go, because that's,
I'm also gonna change the spelling of Lisa's name. Or, actually, I'm not, I thought it was ELISE.
No,
I
that's,
can find out. Is that correct?
that's right.
Okay.
Where's that?
Lisa
No,
Stevens.
it's in there, it's correct, so.
Lisa Stevens.
Okay.
And then I think on the last one, which is the 9 future agenda items, F and G. The notes there should just have read, hang these in late September before 10/1T. But the electrical panel is on the wall where the board member wall project went. So if there's any need for clarification there, maybe
switch them.
switch them, yeah.
Do we even have to say that?
I think it's important because the panel is not behind the panel is not behind the house managers.
I do
You could
think
just strike it.
we could.
Yeah, you
Doesn't
just
have
strike
to
it
be in
out,
there.
you
Yeah,
just strike it
it's
out
just- yeah,
and
just
just put
put
that, hang these, both of them, hang these
Yeah,
in late
right.
September before the 10/1T. That was it.
Works what?
Oh, letter F and G, so just, if you were to, how many years now?
Put it all together in one, basically.
Well, they can be,
Okay.
yeah,
Easy peasy.
F and G, just strike this out. But this is, applicable to both, so basically,
Okay.
I just need to just.
hang these, hang these
You're good.
in late September before 10/1T.
Any other corrections? Okay. Can we move forward once we approve? Can we get a motion to approve the?
I move we approve the minutes as correctly.
I second. All approved?
Aye.
It passed. Okay. And I don't believe we have any public here, so. Now the packet, let's talk about the packet updates. Any comments, thoughts?
It all kind of pertains to something on the
Yeah.
agenda, so I don't know if we want to
Okay,
go through it in
wanna
that
wait,
order
yeah.
or.
I was just gonna ask if that's all.
Microscopically talk it out.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Yeah, there's nothing that's not.
Not, okay, we'll talk to you as we get
Agenda
to
items.
it.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Okay, let's start into old business then. And anything new to report on the SHO grant project?
We heard back from Empire yesterday or the day before, and they're still waiting on information, unless you have anything else about we're still waiting on the window, the final window. That's about it. So
Great, it's waiting.
That's great.
we're waiting, we're still waiting.
Yeah.
But the timeline is by the end of this month.
I think that's what it was, we'll see, I don't know that we have a definite timeline, yeah.
I think it almost sounds like he's also at the mercy of someone else's timeline, so.
It could kick back.
Hopefully not, but we'll, I just don't think he had anything concrete to give us yesterday,
there's
so nothing update.
No new information really.
Was there anything contractually with them as far as deadlines or anything?
Not on an acute item like that.
Okay.
I have one request, can we follow through on the deliverables, the project promotion and the grant application? And that just includes providing all pictures, like before and after, newspaper articles, which I understand is coming, the educational brochure that we have that we provide to our guests when we come. We should provide that to History Colorado with our deliverables so that they can see how we have followed through on the project promotion. That's
It's part of the grant.
part of the process.
Okay.
Even if the window's not here, we
Yeah.
should go ahead and continue.
Yeah.
That'd be good. And then we're fulfilling our obligations.
So we wanna do that before the window is back?
I think we can
Well, we're not
start.
gonna finish it before the window is back. I don't see,
Right.
when we're done, we're done, and we're not done until we're done.
Yeah.
Well, we were waiting on the news release to be totally done.
Yeah.
So you're saying we're not done until we're done?
Yes.
I don't know that we do wait on the news release because if we're beholden and this goes and pushes us until
Well, we're trying to tell,
November,
but if we're trying to tell the state, give them stuff that we're done, we're not done.
Yeah, that was a big,
And she
that
knows
was a big
that, I mean,
piece
Ann
of
knows
it.
that.
well, I know, but we could do the part
It
that
can be
we're at
parts.
least, we're doing partial completion in the sense that part of it is that we were gonna market this and that we were going to tell people about it. And by doing the news release and then sharing with them, we've completed part of our duties. And then when we come back and we have the final completion, it's finally done, da-da-da-da.
Let's do this, why don't you touch base with Ann on what they need?
Good idea.
Then we'll know where we're at.
So they either need a status report or a final report, right?
What does she,
Or
what
maybe, or
does she
don't want
need?
that.
We don't
What does she
know
need?
now.
What is she, what she
Yeah,
want?
they may not need anything until it's fully complete, in which case we should wait until that time.
Okay.
We've been gathering information, lots of pictures.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, you've already gathered and done a lot of the holding of all of that.
Well, and quite frankly, if she
Prepared.
doesn't want any more additional paperwork, I can understand it
Yeah,
on her end, but just give me the final report and then we'll be done, I get that too. Okay,
I knew you were about to start.
I'm sorry, Ann.
Okay, let's move on to Art Walk, and we did have some artist surveys, and if anybody had really good eyesight, they can read them.
Yes.
Thank you for organizing Art Walk.
Oh, it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
It really was.
Really well.
Yeah, we had a good
From
time.
our perspective, it was great.
Overall, positive feedback.
Yeah, okay, that's really good.
That's what we want.
Yeah, it was good.
And that's actually a first, we haven't had feedback from artists in the past. I mean, I've had some phone calls with them just because you get to know them after a while,
Right.
and everybody was always happy, but it's nice to get it in writing, so
Yeah.
that's very good.
And then we have a survey for next year, ready to go, and
And I, from moving on from this point, this is a good add-on that we can then flip back from years past and look at what the weather was or whatever. So I think that's great.
Well,
Thanks for all your work.
I went out to hygiene to the people that had this room because they had gifted me a wine glass. And I thought, well, what's wine? I got to get the other three. So I went out there. They really loved doing it.
Yeah, she's fun, isn't she?
Well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's that. You said that in the three.
Right.
It's so fun to drink along.
But they really enjoyed it. They really
I know when I
appreciated
talked to her
it.
on the phone, she was
That's
I know this year they were a little overdone in here, we might wanna put the reins in on them a little if we
Yeah,
can
they
invite
had
them
a
back.
lot of merchandise.
Yeah, we can kinda tell them, keep it a little less.
Yeah.
A little more simple.
Yeah, but that's to be discussed next year.
Yeah.
But they do enjoy it, so, or maybe have an outside place.
Well, depending on the weather, who knows?
Right.
You've made
Yeah.
great suggestions on what we could possibly
I
do.
think we should expand and have, fill the garden with artists.
And the
Have more.
And
An
the
auto house.
auto house.
Yeah.
You people, she always sketches us on that, so.
The auto house, it would be great to have that open.
Yes, okay. So, let's move on, news release for grant project, any discussion there?
The news release is present for you to review, and it will go out when the window is complete.
Okay,
cool.
There you
go.
So,
So let's
Do you
look.
want any feedback on
you can provide feedback, I think
Do you want me to
this is mostly a
email it
final
to you?
draft, but, yeah, if you'd like to provide feedback, you can.
I'll just email it to you then.
Okay.
And for you to do what you want with it.
Sounds good, thank you.
Actually, I'd like to hear what you got that you'd like to add.
Well, let me just make it brief. So at the top, Longmont's historic Callahan House and Dale's historic restoration and preservation, I think that would be nice to include those words, preservation. I think that some clarification needs to happen with respect to the historic home also received a 25% cash match in the amount of $60,000 from the city of Longmont, the capital improvement program. But when people read 25% cash match and they're looking at $108,000, they're probably thinking, we don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I gotta figure that out.
Yeah, so I think I can give you a little bit of some suggestions for how to maybe wordsmith that just a little bit differently to incorporate the 240,000 so people understand 60% is of 240,000, 880 is what we.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
just a little,
Clarifies it
yeah,
then.
just for clarification.
So there's no confusion.
Because I don't want people to go, wait a minute, what? And that doesn't calculate right. And then I might suggest that we also include in the scope of the work that we significantly, in the first bullet point, significantly the curved window in the library. I think it's really notable to point that one out. That's in particular been restored. I mean, yes, there was work done on others, I understand, but that one was the one, that was the purpose of the grant.
At the open house,
And that was
that's where
kind of
people
a-
really went to look.
Okay.
So that was,
kind of a key point.
It's just a special window.
I might suggest, in the second bullet point, concrete driveway, because we've always referred to it as driveway.
Okay.
I would say in the third bullet point, before historical, I just put it as an A, historical analysis, not an historical analysis, but that's a language thing. Manager, you need to capitalize M for manager, yeah.
Yeah, I had given that feedback as well. I don't know if anybody else has any.
Where's it
It is
at?
a role.
Let's
It is
see where it
title.
is.
Down there.
Yeah,
it's a title.
It's
I
a
got
title.
the feedback that it shouldn't be capitalized, but.
Well, it shouldn't
By
be
who?
if it comes after the name, it should be if it comes
Before.
So it comes after my name. Is that what you mean?
Yeah,
If
so
it
I
comes
think it
after
should be
you.
lowercase.
You think?
Yeah, because it's,
It's not a name, it's just a title.
If
Well,
it's
it's-
prior to her name, it's a title.
it's
It's
a
after,
title, and
so-
if it's after, it's sort of a descriptive thing.
That's true too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and then by the later in that paragraph, by the Callahan family, I would say by Thomas and Alice Callahan. I think it's easy for Alice to be lost in this, and I don't think that there are other Callahan families names, so I don't want any confusion, but it's Thomas and Alice Callahan.
I am gonna disagree. I know it's supposed to be afterwards with manager, but the way it's stated here, because of the apostrophe, I disagree. I think it should be capitalized, because it does look like a title.
Like instead of saying,
Stated her.
if it were
It's
like,
It does not.
comma, mechanical engineer is very generic. But you have Callahan House in there, so it is kind of, okay,
I
I'm
would
with you.
go with
I'm with you.
capitalization. Sorry,
Send it to them and they can decide.
That's right.
Yeah.
I disagree. I just.
Well, I
that-
think the
I
fact that
just
you
say
don't
it's a
have an
title, but-
article before it, you're not saying, and you can't because it's a title already. If you said like a mechanical engineer at the Callahan House or
Right,
something,
that would
but
be different.
Callahan House Manager.
We'll see. I mean, they've already corrected it to be a lowercase m, so
Oh.
that's probably how
I think-
it will stay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not critical.
Is this written by the?
Sorry, we're nitpicking. I know.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
And then
I think
sent
so.
through
For this
the
one,
marketing
Brittany's
for
working on it already.
updates, so.
I realize that.
Could I suggest something that would make this perhaps a little more exciting for the public?
What's that?
Just knowing that the restoration has been complete or is nearly complete or whatever, I don't know if that would grab me as much as what I've learned from all of you about the fact that the restoration brings it back to its heyday of 1906 or whatever. You know, that was,
That's a really good point.
yeah, and that the public will see things they haven't seen
Prior.
for decades because, like the green and everything and
And that we just didn't come up with the green out of our thin air. And the fact that if we state the date, that this is the time frame, I think that's a really good point. And
We do
Yeah.
say, in the
We do
meeting
say
notes,
that
it really
say-
talks about
yeah.
early
Bullet
1900s. And
Yeah.
they couldn't pinpoint that year exactly, so that's what it says, colors from the early 1900s. So I think the end of it invites the public to come visit. Obviously, that needs to be updated because these dates are already passing. But we can say, come see the house in its original form from the 1900s, original splendor or something like that. Yeah, I like it.
yeah.
And Cindy, were you trying to get a headline that popped?
Yeah.
that's all she's trying to do.
Yeah, she's
is
trying to get a pop.
a pop at this so people pulls you in to finish reading
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because if they
A
haven't
grammar.
already, they may have already seen the house and I don't know, they got to picture something or
So, yes.
know that there's something spectacular.
See
going
Callahan
on.
House in its original.
I like the word heyday.
Callahan House
Yeah, just
restored.
heyday.
Yeah,
That's
but
great.
it's a heyday
Ask
of
Erica for some
1906.
feedback.
Because I like the word unveils, I think that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like that too.
Vale's Historic Restoration Preservation, bringing it back to its
I like unveils too, but
historic.
maybe bringing it back
Let's,
to its
let's
80
not,
or
let's not
something.
wordsmith it here.
Yeah.
Let's let Erica, who's really good at this, I think it's a good idea, I agree,
Yeah.
but trying to wordsmith this out.
Right.
We'll
Okay,
give her
headlines
the
need to be brief
suggestions,
and pop.
and she's really good with what that means.
It's just, Cindy, you did a lot of the stuff for what you
Yeah.
did in the past, so I appreciate your
Yeah,
insight.
sure.
Yeah, I think it's a really good idea, and then we'll take her.
Okay, great.
And I might suggest switching out the word sunup to sundown to dusk, dawn to dusk, because those words are actually on our signs on the property.
They read
Dawn to
well.
dusk. So, just being consistent with the property.
Thank you for all this.
Sure.
Yes. And the only other last thing, and this is that back and forth thing of what do? Do we have the Callahan House or do we not?
Yeah.
And so I found the
No.
Yeah, so in December of 2021, there's the word the before Callahan House. And then, so you can kind of circle that just so you know. And then go down to the last paragraph. And community members are welcome to view exterior restorations too. There's the word the Callahan House.
And we're wanting just to see Callahan
And
House.
I don't know, it's up to you, but I just thought it was, remember how we went back and
We
forth
went
about
over on
that? And
that
we're
thing.
like, what do we do? Do we call it the Callahan House or do we call it Callahan House? Oh, no. So maybe that's for you to decide, but consistency.
Me too. That's
Okay.
Because there's only one
And then
that
it's
we
an
know of
entity.
in this town.
And then about renting the Callahan House, so that's the very last sentence. So I guess those are the places where I saw the, but there are places where I didn't see the, so you wanna,
Consistency.
Just all one or
yes,
the
whatever
other.
you wanna do there, just make it consistent, I suppose, so we're not confusing people.
So over the broad scheme of things you went over, so you touched all the broad things and I appreciate that, Karen.
Sorry, one last thing. Instead of which are now equipped, the first bullet point, sorry. Instead of which are now equipped with, can we put including installation of protective storm windows? Because
And Steve's last one
It's
is
kind of-
including.
installation of
Okay.
protective storm windows. I think that's a really important.
That is
Piece.
important because
It was
I
part
was actually referred to from the historic preservation, they had a lady come before them about replacing the windows and that it was too hard for her and she just wanted to replace the window rather than putting, and I literally showed, during the tea, I was showing the city council members that no, it's not difficult to put a protective glass piece here. So referred back from Aaron and Susie, who were questioning about that, so great.
I'm sorry, that's,
Okay.
but you did a great job.
Thank you.
Yes, okay. Okay, so any other comments on the news release? All right, let's move on to the fall tea, which we just had, and it was a lot of fun. Food was good, people were fun, so. Karen,
What was
Wanna
the
give you
final-
updates?
yeah.
Let me give you some updates. So, we sent 42 invitations, 24 RSVP guests, plus 5 guests of those 24 guests. We had 9 that were no, including 2 that were elderly and they don't live at home anymore. 8 were no response. 1 was returned invitation and unable to forward. Unfortunately, that's the last one.
She's in a home window.
And we had 4 no-shows. Now, we had 6 present board members, 8 past board members, 1 present house manager, 2 past house managers, 1 past city liaison, and 6 city council members. So those were our committees. We did go over the details of
Including the mayor.
including the mayor. And we did go over the details of, that we have a new house manager, for the first time in the house's history, 85 years. We have somebody who was a board member and stepped into the house manager position, so we did talk about that.
How many years and how many years?
85 years. It's been 85 years since 1930. So it's the first time in the house's history to have someone with historic property experience, and so we've noted and highlighted that. We also noted that the majority of the grant project work was completed this year, and then the curb level leaded bevel glass window is still up for restoration. And we highlighted that there were 2 interior history projects that were completed. One which was the house manager photo project. There were 16 house managers from 1938 to present. And then the second item was that the Callahan House Board Member List project was completed. And there were 91 board members over 85 years. So we highlighted those, explained the details about those, and then gave them a little bit of a nugget to say we're working toward digitizing the house scrapbooks. That will be what's on the horizon. So those were the highlights of sharing the things about the house over the course of the year.
My little tidbit from sharing with people were very excited about the scrapbooks being digitized. And the other thing is that I did do a little clarification because people asked. I said, Brittany did apply for the position, and the reason why she received the position is because she was more than qualified. It wasn't like she just stepped off the board and we gave her the position. So that was a clarification that I did want to make, that she's more than doubly qualified to be in that position, and she applied.
Right.
So it was put out to the
Called
public.
her one day.
Yeah, and it wasn't like we just said, okay,
Okay, you do it.
you got it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Short straw.
I'm sorry, I didn't do that.
That's great.
Alrighty. Well, it was a fun day, and so thanks to everybody who worked on it, and it was a lot of fun. Moving on, is there anything else to be said on donations? I think we've covered this pretty well.
Other than I want to thank Brittany and Karen both for working on this, but Brittany did above and beyond in helping us get this put in place, and this has been a long time wish, so thank you.
Sure, yeah.
This has been on my wish list, and I can cross it off.
Okay, well,
We just
can we,
It's done, yeah.
after this now, can we remove it from old business? I mean, is it
Donations and
done?
contributions?
Yeah, is it done?
It's not done.
Okay,
It's still,
Is it still
It's
out?
close.
it's still going
You
through
and
the city.
Okay, I
Yeah.
just,
but it's this close.
It's
compared
close,
to
yeah.
compared to where it was just a wish in thin air, and now it's an
Yeah.
this is huge to me.
okay.
Yeah,
So-
no, it'll still, but
Okay, just so it'll
Other things
stay on
to
our
come off.
business then. Anything to talk about on the digitized scrapbook? Any new information on that?
yeah, so the city can offer digitization of it in 11 by 17 format, which I think we had kind of touched on before. So I went through and measured almost all of the pages. We could do that, and most things would be fine and fit within that format. There's a couple instances, or a few instances, where maybe a 1/4 inch or so around would be lost. Or we would have to take a piece of it and another piece of it, and so it is doable to do it basically for free within the city. Another option, and you got a quote for about $10 a page, which would cost way too much. Several thousands of dollars.
Add that up yourself.
I
Because
can go back
it's,
to him and
you
ask, I can go back to him and ask again if he would consider reducing
I
that.
think he
More
would need to
help.
do it for $2 to $3 a page, so if that's a possibility. And the reason that I came up with that number is there are several companies online which do it, and that's about their price. You have to send the scrapbooks off, so if that's something that you're comfortable with or not. But
Because
yeah,
things
that
could get
is a
lost.
reasonable price range that would end up maybe being about $1,500 or $1,600, but in that case, it's like $8,000.
Yeah.
So
That's not gonna happen.
so that's where we're at, I guess, deciding if the 11x17 format is okay and doing it within the city, or if we want to think about funding for having it digitized. But like, I think the $2 to $3 a page is a reasonable amount.
Okay, I'm gonna ask the question though. It's not really free if we could do it through the city because it takes staff time and people are doing that.
That's what I said.
I think we need to be conscious that it does take staff time and that we are using city resources, and that is money and time that these people are being paid.
Well,
So-
ideally, we're still doing that.
We're still doing it?
We would see
Yeah,
if
because
physically
have access
doing-
to their help and resources.
Okay, I just wanna have a clarification on that.
So there would still be some staff time involved.
Yeah,
But that's minimal. The majority, the heavy lifting is done by us.
okay, but for recognition on what we do in documentation, I still think we need to acknowledge whatever time goes into that, because it's still a cost. And whether we have a dollar number, but hours that city staff put into it or something, but we need to have it in our records, then we could then access that. So much time was put on this, blah, 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 either for grants or something else. I just think it's important that we track that and we don't sweep that under the carpet, because again, this is time and energy that we're putting on. Even if you're putting in it, I think we need to put our hours and how much time we're putting as volunteer hours into it. So we're truly accounting on what this project has accurately cost, quote unquote, whether it be free or volunteer. So that's something to think about. Would it be the end of the world if we did take some of the scrapbooks that aren't gonna fit and
Well, it's
I would not
per page,
modify
so it's not like
per
a full
page.
scrapbook. Yes, every single page
Right.
would be in 11x17 format. Like some
Mhm.
pages yes, some pages no. Mostly yes, and like I said, if anything, maybe you lose a quarter inch here and there, and I think it can be worked with.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Compared
it's not gonna
to,
be
I would not
an easy
modify.
thing to do,
No,
but
I would not modify the actual physical true form.
okay,
Just taking scans in that size is going to be sufficient. And like you said, we have to, separate the page and what this and that. It's
So-
doable.
it's doable. Okay, so I think we looked at the overall idea behind this. One was so people have access to books. The other one on my point was preservation, in the sense that if something, God forbid, knock on wood, nothing happened to this house, whether it was vandalized or something along those lines, we had this documentation of not lost. We have it, and we can save it in the air somewhere, you know what I'm saying, so people then have access to it. I'm sorry, with the Marshall fires and everything else, we have learned that we are not unsusceptible for having horrific things happen and things being lost, and I think we have to look at preservation in that aspect too. So,
And we did talk about in the last meeting that as we're going through the process of scanning page by page, there are some documents and some things that we would like to provide to the museum and ask that they be placed in the archive.
Okay.
And that will be their decision whether they will include that in the Callahan House file in the archives
or
or
not.
not. My guess is that they will probably accept them because these are pretty significant things that are 85 years old and they're gonna want that.
I apologize, Karen, but I didn't hear that. I wasn't at the last meeting, so I didn't.
At this point in the meeting, before we spend a whole lot of time talking about the scrapbooks, do we just wanna talk about, do we want the city to try doing this, you know?
And make a decision.
Yeah, because obviously we could hash this around, and there's a lot to hash around, I agree.
Well,
I think we would like to utilize the city resources with our volunteering our time to make this project.
I agree with that, and we can decide on the format, like, do we want indexes, do we want contents, I mean, we can
That can
discuss
come
that
later.
Yeah.
yeah.
Details.
So is this something we need to vote on, or should we
I think
just?
we need to make a motion and then vote on it. The board agrees that we should put it towards the city.
Let's do that then. Can you get a motion?
I move we utilize the city's resources to electronically scan and to digitize the scrapbooks. That does include volunteers from the board. That takes our time.
Okay, do we get a second?
I second. Or you
Go ahead.
second? Whatever.
Okay, all in
Pick
favor?
one.
Yeah.
Okay, it looks like it passed.
That's a motion in support for the city to do that.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
to
not a
use the
decision,
city's
it's not a decision.
facility.
Right,
It's a
it's
motion
that,
in support of doing that.
Yes.
And then, you know, if we have trouble with the work, we can always say.
Yeah, you can always say, no, we
We
can't
can
do it.
regroup.
But this will get the ball rolling anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a good discussion. Let's move on to a house manager picture project, and again, that one is pretty much complete. Aren't there just a few little doodads you still wanna?
it's complete. Let
Oh,
me
it's
just
okay.
give you little, I guess, tidbits of information that are specific to that and then the other. Okay, so specific to the house manager photos, each of the photos that we have, I selected a color mat and had a custom cut to fit and complement the photo that we have of the house manager and placed it in its own separate frame. We have, let's see, that is specific to house manager photos. Just so you all are aware. Cindy donated 2 of the small white frames for 2 of the.
Candy did.
Candy did that? That's Candy's too? Okay, so then Candy donated the black 3-window frame that has the first 3 house managers with no photos. And then also the 2 small white frames for the 2 house managers with no photos that come more in the middle of the groups. So those were donations by Candace. And then after that, aside from Mabel Damon's photo that was already done from years ago, which I did not touch, we left it intact. I just purchased all of the other materials, the frames, the photos, the mats. The total cost of that project was $399.69, just for your information. Then that leaves.
Was that frames you bought?
Yeah, frames.
So that was your donation?
Yeah. Frames, mats, the materials to put the mats and the photos and put the photos in the mats and all that. That's the house manager picture project. That kind of leads me into the past and present board member wall project, which the specifics about that is that the piece has 3 pages in it, and they're special because the first page has the image of the Callahan stationery at the top, and the second page has the image of the gate with flowers, which was created many years ago by Leslie Boyden, and is kind of that emblem that we use for Callahan House. And then the third is that the third page at the top has 7 quotes by women regarding volunteerism, which represents the 7 seats of the Callahan House board members from year to year. So that's something that is of significance and purpose behind it. And so it does include the list includes the names of all 91 ladies who I'm aware of, and their terms of service over the last 85 years. And they are enlisted by decade, and it's easy to add as new members come in. And so that's going to be very simple.
Ladies and men.
New board members come in.
And Dan.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm thinking
Oh,
of,
the
never mind, I'm
house
thinking of the
house manager.
managers.
We had
Never mind.
yes, we had one gentleman house manager over the years in the
Yes.
70s. But we're talking about the ladies of the board. Anyway, so that was the board member list project. That cost, just so you know, for frame and materials and everything, $145.58. And then on the last piece, which ended up being the significant historic board member photos, and that's specifically Mary Shai, who was the first president and chairwoman of the board, and then Virginia Estes. Those two, because they're significant
And they were already
and
framed.
already framed, but needed to move them and place them into one solid frame that could cover that panel and also be consistent and on the same wall with all board members. So that is now done. It does include those photos and their nameplates and dates of terms of service. And that project, that cost $152.38. So I'm just sharing that with you
For which part?
for the significant historic board member
Okay.
photos frame.
For basically that
It's
whole
for
wall.
that. So for the whole, I'm gonna call it the Hall of History. For the Hall of History, the total was $697.65. That is a gift for me. So I just want to make sure that you know that there's an investment there, and it's for the purpose of the education of our community and our guests.
Thank
Who
you.
come to the
And
house.
thank you.
Karen.
Thank you,
So
Very
Karen.
much for that.
Very generous.
Very
I
generous.
hope that.
I hope
many
your name is
generations-
gonna be added to the list of donors.
I hope that many generations can appreciate and
Yeah.
see the history, because it's beautiful. I mean, over 85 years, look at that.
I did have a question. So just so we can put it on the board's calendar, that we need to then update that every 3 years?
Well, it can be updated every year as board members change. It's easy to do, so.
I didn't know if we were going to add it as in our list of tasks that the board needed to complete. Is it going to be a yearly?
It really should
It
be.
should be,
Yearly
because
Every
as
January
new
or
members
February.
come on,
That's-
February.
I just want to
Yes.
make sure that it's on our
Yes.
calendar to do.
Because that's, people leave and people come every year.
Right.
yeah, it should be.
Verifying.
And it will be
That's a good
easy
point
to
there,
do,
Claudia.
so.
Okay, that was a great job, Karen.
Yes, it was.
Thank you very much
Turned out
for
really well.
all
Looks
that.
great.
Okay, is there any thing to say on the PEO Founders Day program? I know several people were involved with that.
Karen and I both met with Edie EDK, and she was a delight. We have met with her, and then we spoke with exactly how we're going to go over talking about the Callahan house. Now, come to find out, she had a significant tie to the house through her mother, and they had a painting that they donated to the house that we're trying to find.
Wow.
That we don't know what occurred to that. I do know that it used to hang upstairs in the hall, but it's no longer there. So that's a.
Is it one that was here recently that just got moved? for
It
this
was
project?
here during Leslie Boynton's time, and she told me specifically where it was hung. I have no idea where it got moved to. But it was something that was donated to the house, and it was a significant artist of Longmont that did it. And so this is one of those questions of donations have been made, what happened to them, where did they disappear? Is it hanging in somebody else's home? I mean,
Yeah.
we don't know at this point. So she asked specifically that she wanted to come and see it again. And I like going, I don't have a clue where that is.
She just said, oh, if it's still there, that's great, because it was beautiful, but we'll have to
You have to
see.
be careful with donations.
Yeah.
That's right, I guess it's good that we're
Points
careful
that
how we
out.
accept them, and when we do accept them, we have to keep them.
Right.
This comes to light that I'm so happy that we've got our donation thing now in place. But that being said, back to the program itself, it's going to be very exciting. Karen, do you want to state how many ladies were going to be there?
They anticipate approximately 120 ladies. They would like about a 30-minute presentation. So Maureen and I will create a PowerPoint presentation that includes a lot of the historic photos and information about the house through the years, and tie it in with the PEO, because they were one of the original clubs who met here for many years.
Alice was
How many minutes?
30-minute presentation.
When will this
and then
presentation be?
It's scheduled for January 20th, 2024. So,
Where will it
what I,
It's
at
the
the,
United Church.
yes, it's,
You're going to be there.
and so what I might suggest is that Maureen and I can put this presentation together, but I'd like to be able to share it with everyone, so everyone can put it
In their
give
inputs.
feedback or
That's a
input.
good idea.
I don't know that we would want to do that during board meeting. Perhaps that might be something that we can share with everyone
Or
through
schedule.
Brittany and say, hey, take a look at this and give your feedback back to Brittany, and then we'll, whatever. But I want the whole board to be included in what this presentation information is going to include. Is
But
that
it's
okay?
very exciting in the fact that we've got another way that we can show off the Callahan house. It's really, and the fact that they approached us on it, it's again very exciting. And I'm pleased that we can be part of it. As you can see, with that many members, they can't be here any longer because it's just too big. But
Well, that's like all of the
There are
several.
seven chapters in town.
Yes, there are seven chapters in town, so that's, among the 7 chapters is 120 ladies.
They don't all meet
They,
together.
Right.
and they don't all come
Right,
to
right.
town.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, those are just, the ones that like
Could
to
somebody
eat.
give just an overview, what is Founder's Day?
PEO was founded in the late 1800s by 7 young ladies who decided to have their own, it's like a sorority that they decided to put together, and they are the founding members of
So this is sort of honoring them?
this.
Okay, I just wasn't sure what the significance of
and
Founder's Day.
because they met here, this is huge. And
Right.
so this is the other thing that I guess I want to put out there is this is one of those clubs that we, if for the smaller groups, do we want to reach out to them again to say that, we'd love to have you meet back at the house. This
I
is
think
what
that will tie nicely into Club Affair.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so have we covered everything on PEO then? Let's move on to 2024 flower order and grounds plan. And we had a little meeting with Brittany and Karen Creed.
Yeah, the other Karen.
And we went around the grounds
Karen's
and, I could spend the next hour going over all of the needs, but I'm not gonna do that.
Thank you.
In a nutshell, unfortunately, the grounds are incredibly overgrown, overplanted, and kind of declining in a lot of ways. So a lot of work does need to be done. I know in the last couple of years, we've really focused on the house, and so we didn't focus as much on the garden. It's been brought up, but again, it was, okay, we'll do that next. Right now, we're working on the house type of thing. So we do have now some open time. For next year, we talked about the type of flowers we'd like to see, so you've got those orders. So those are coming. I have a suggestion that would help us in the future is creating like a journal or a logbook for the gardens. And just like every January, we could pick, okay, we contracted with Green to plant the flowers, and we contracted with so-and-so, I don't even know who does the mowing, to mow, and we could just kind of briefly in a few sentences say, this is what we expect them to do. And then, so we will know that, because we really had a situation this year when Kathy left us and before you came on, we didn't know who was doing what, you know, and we were kind of searching. So I think if we kept that journal, and then if anything major comes up, like, oh, we had to redo the fountain, or just make notes of it, so we have a history that's easy to go to. I mean, I'm not asking for pages, just comments, you know, dates and times of what happened, so we can look back, because I'd kind of like to know when a few changes were made. There's been some major changes since, I'm kind of an old timer here, you know, so 40 years ago, there's been a lot of changes since I worked in the gardens, and I don't know when they happened, I don't know. You know, it'd be kind of fun to look back on that.
I agree. I think it's really important that we journal and we have an accurate track record. I think we can also reference back to one of the past board, house managers, Leslie Whiten, when she literally took care of the gardens, and she's got a good record of certain things. Maybe we could refer back to her on what they did at a certain point,
Right.
because she literally, her and one other person, and I can't remember the name offhand, they physically took care of the gardens.
What was the
As a
time
house.
frame?
It would have been the
Early 2000s.
early
Approximate.
2000s.
Okay.
For me, it was in the 70s.
And so the fact that she was saying, oh, it's way overgrown, you need to do this and this and whatever else, and she had an accurate, and I wouldn't doubt that, knowing Leslie, that she probably has the records.
Okay, so, I just thought we should start at least a journal. So, and it's more for, you know, it's nice to have the history, and then for going forward, again, we can, come May or something, we can say, well, let's see, so-and-so is supposed to be planting the flowers now, that's what we're paying them to do. And we also might want to note in there the hours we expect them to do a month. You know, things like that, so we can, if we see problems, we can point at, you know, okay, who's not doing this or who's not doing that.
So that's all contracted through the city. We work with two contractors, one that does the beds and one that does the grounds and the fountain. And really that's all through parks that manages that. And so, you know, laying
Well, we
out
could-
expectations of how many hours we
Right,
expect them
that's-
to do this and that is kind of even
Micromanaging.
above what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right, well, I guess,
But if
okay.
you all want to keep a journal that says, you know, what we put in.
Yeah, at
for
least
the
we know what to
flower
expect.
Or things like that.
So maybe not
we
laying
want
out
to do so.
expectations of time, but maybe instead laying out expectations of, you know, the bed in the northwest corner of the garden is overgrown by, well, it's like 10 feet.
Yeah, by
And it should
lot.
be 2 feet, so something like that is maybe more specific to a task and what needs to happen, and not so much about the time that the parks needs to do to get it done, but what needs to happen.
Yeah,
Figure that.
or we could have milestones, like, okay, by June, we should see this. By July,
Well,
we
we
should
need
see
to be
this.
cautious with that. I would say, I think desires
Uh-huh.
and wants, expectations is a
Yeah,
word that I don't get to apply to a different department like that,
Right.
and neither do you guys.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that what you're talking about as far as putting together, here's some things we're lacking, right? Or these aren't up to what we think the standard
Yeah.
should be. And then letting us go to them and really trying to work with them as best we can.
but the fact
Our
that,
expectations in our own parks, we have expectations, we don't get to rule
Oh, yeah,
those.
I
My field-
understand that.
My fields do not look like I would love them to look,
and we can't control the weather, we
But-
can't control stuff.
but that doesn't mean it's not worth the effort of exactly what you're talking about, so.
And my point is, we're contract, I mean, these aren't city employees so much as contracted employees, and, you know, we do have a contract, and we do have to have parameters that, you know, so
Yeah,
much
and
work.
last year they did not, like for the
Yeah, well, 'cause-
they did not get to it,
Yeah.
it was in their contract and been in parks, Eventually got them to do it, but again,
Right.
that's contractor not doing it.
So we have to,
Right.
but if we know that, I mean, on the board, and again, we don't manage the contracts, but if we know that this is what they were given as their guidelines, and this is what they bid on when they took, because if they're contracted, they must have put a bid in to do it. We can say, okay, you bid that you were gonna do this, but it's not done. You know, we should have something that we can go back to them.
And say we're
Fair
not,
enough.
it's not fair that we're paying for work that wasn't completed.
Yeah, so but I would like to be able to look back and just say who is the contractor this year. This year was like, we could say, wow, that year was perfect, we love these guys, we want these guys back, that type of thing, you know, a little bit.
Yeah.
parks? Do
Um,
you know that?
it's been similar contractors, but this last year they went through some sort of evolution
Right.
that there was a combining and an adjustment, so there was some confusion, it seemed like,
Okay.
as far as that goes. So this was
Okay, and
not a pre.
Well, yeah, I did, and I apologize, but I do wanna say, okay, if we have these expectations and they're not being met, and I agree with that, I don't think there's anything wrong with having expectations and we're putting out there and it is a bid and if they're not following through with that, we have to have some kind of ramifications that wasn't done and therefore they didn't meet the contract and whatnot. But if we know that we're contracting and we're only contracting for so much labor, is there something as we as board members can get volunteers to go in and work on the gardens if certain things are not going to be completed? Is there something that we could do to help go and take some of the overgrowth and work on?
Well,
If
you gotta be
directed, if I'm directed well, I can work. You know,
I think what we have to be real careful when we get into do-it-yourself work is the quality of the work, and again, you don't have a lot of accountability when it's that. I was gonna kind of touch on, I don't want to spend all day talking about this, but like, let's go with the stonework that was done. You know, I don't care for a lot of that. That was kind of those, what do they call them, trapezoidal shape? Stone blocks.
Yeah.
Stone blocks they're great for home people to do their backyard, to do a circle around a tree, but when you're doing a formal gardens, they don't last. I mean, if you look at them now, they're tipping and cracking and not looking very good. They erode and yet they're not. So really, if you're gonna do stonework, you should hire somebody who knows how to do stonework and, you know, get a good job done. You know, I don't know really who did the stonework out there. It's kind of time to take it out. It's starting to really look bad, you know. So volunteer work is nice, I guess, if we have something weeding, maybe some weeding needs to be done and stuff. But when it comes to planting, I think we really need to go with the experts.
Okay.
On that. But with that said, I think we have to look at a formal plan. A formal garden has, well, you've seen formal gardens, everything's neat and manicured. Our driveway right now is hidden. You can't, the flowers, there's, you know, way too many perennials. Yeah, perennials tend to keep growing and get bigger and bigger. So I think a lot of those gotta go. We need to have just a border. The border used to be about 1 foot long on either side of the driveway. Now it's about 5 feet wide on either side of the driveway. Yeah, I lost Karen. We were talking, and I was in the driveway. She wanted to go over by Bacchus, and I couldn't see her. It was like, Karen's
Well, so what we can do is, you know, we went through and talked about what we'd like to see, and not all of it may even happen next year.
Oh, it's
Right, of course not. Yeah.
It's happening over
Well,
time,
right.
so, you know, that information gets relayed from me to Parks, that they then relay to their contractors, which that we can,
Right.
that will be on record in an email that I can share if you all want to keep a record of what the expectations were. But just knowing that our expectations need to also be managed and that not all of it can happen even in a season.
Right.
But
Well,
we can keep record of what we're
What
working towards.
Yeah, I like that.
So maybe
Sure.
we should get a long-term goal, and part of that being is a garden plan.
That's what I was going to jump in and say. We need to decide what's the most important one unit out there we need to work on. I mean, and my two choices are either the fountain, which is, you can't, you know, it's got too much
So
room,
central.
or the driveway. I mean, we can't do everything, so let's pick. And where do the brides, you know, the couples get married at, usually by the fountain. So we should, I think that needs to be redone, you know, reworked completely. That could be a project for maybe 1 year, maybe. And another year, the driveway needs to be reworked.
Well, honestly, I'd like to put forth a motion and put you in charge, Ann, because you have so much, background in-
Unfortunately, I'm timing out.
I know you're doing it, but we got you for a little bit longer. Could you help us get a plan?
Yeah, I think we could definitely work on some kind of, but now I have to work with Ben because I don't know how, and with Brittany here, but how do we determine what can be done? I guess.
Well, But could we overall do a plan for
You
gardens?
can still do a plan,
Yeah.
budget and actually getting it done.
Maybe that'll help get at it.
This might be something that
That's
we
what I would
move,
say.
that we
If-
move
if
forward
you
for the
guys
next
have
couple of years.
The things, a list of a plan, then, prioritize that.
Exactly.
And we'll do our best to convey that through.
So could we,
These
Yeah,
sorts
we
of
can
things,
work on it.
we'd
Could-
like
could
to
we
see
get a
this and then
committee?
see what sort of buy-in we can get.
Right,
Yeah.
could
exactly.
we get a committee to work on that?
We could, but boy, we're coming into the time of year
Yeah,
when it's
when
hard to
it's-
do. We got Thanksgiving, Christmas, we
Well, I
got a
think
bunch of stuff.
what would be good, so we've kind of set forth what we, flower order for next year and some things that we'd like to see this next season and some things we'd like to see
Excuse me.
further
Bless you.
forward. So, I can put that together, basically what is gonna go to parks for this year, cause they need something
Yeah, that's
soon,
really
in the
kind
next
already.
few weeks. And then
Did you hear from Ben
about when they need stuff.
about getting together, talking about flowers yet?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I don't know
he's
that I was-
expecting, oh,
I
okay.
don't know that I was included on
I just checked in with him to see when he needs stuff by, and he's expecting something.
My expectations is there was a meeting that would be set, and I would be
Oh.
there, and you would be there, and I would
Okay.
invite Ann, actually.
Okay.
Oh,
And
that'd be
that's what I
wonderful.
talked to Timber about, so can you follow up
Okay,
with
yeah, we
on
can do
that?
that. No, I've not talked
See,
about that. I just
Timber
did
said that
a,
would be likely sometime in the next.
okay, I
Understood.
just did a quick check-in with Ben to say,
Yeah.
how long do we have, basically.
I do understand that next spring you've already worked with, is his name Ben from the golf course, who's gonna work with
Ryan,
Ryan?
Ben is Parks.
Ryan
with an R.
Ryan, okay.
Ryan's in the golf
Oh.
course.
I think we're gonna not, make sure we don't schedule anything for what, May,
Yeah, we tried to leave a window.
April and May.
April and
It was
May?
like, we got like 6 weeks, so it'll be a weather dependent.
So that would be a good time if we could squeeze it in, if we pick one unit, like we wanna really kind of
Right.
rehab a little bit, I'm still gonna push for the fountain. During that 2-month period would be.
Depending on what they'll allow access to the grounds, right?
That's
If there's like a time frame where we can't go walk to the fountain
Yeah.
or something, right? So,
So there-
Well, what I would, my plan was we would try to get this, we talk about flowers, we gotta get that going, it's
Yeah.
kind of the time. And then at that same meeting, wanted to talk to those guys, cause I haven't, about Ryan's plans for the grass. And then connect that and
Yeah,
try to,
we could work-
and then I wanna tell them, hey, there's some work we'd like to see here. Now, the thing I can tell you guys is if I go to them and say, we need this done, right? And it's pretty big. They're just gonna straight away say no, they don't have the budget for it. So, but I still think we can work with them to say, here's where we wanna get to. You guys tell us, how do we get here? We'd like to see this be, you gotta balance between professional, private, paid for gardens and what is a public garden. I mean, I get that. But we want this to be as nice as it possibly can be. And while it's still beautiful, there's a lot of things here, it's cut back. I mean,
Right.
Yeah,
it's
it's
cutting some things back and letting them grow healthy, so I think there's a lot of room for movement. So that's kind of where
Okay, that's right, we'll do this in
That's right.
bites, and we won't
Oh,
dump the
yeah.
whole thing on it, we'll take little bites out of it.
Could we get, and I would appreciate if you could write it down on what you, and prioritize in everything that you think needs to be done, and then prioritize what you can see happening in bites, like you were saying, would be helpful. And because you worked on the gardens so much, I mean, it would be helpful if we had an overall garden plan that we can then pull out.
Yeah, we can work on
Is there
And
such
then
thing
we'll set
as
a
a
meeting that Ann could.
These,
Yeah,
overhead
yeah.
view that could,
Yeah.
so that a diagram could be?
That's,
I have
Like
aerial photos.
Drone, an aerial photo.
Yes, I do.
that. Yeah, and again, this is a good point for our fundraising. I mean, I don't think the city will be able to have enough money to
No.
really refurbish the whole gardens,
No.
but if we could fundraise.
No, but like
We
we
can.
talked about, I mean, the kind of the next goal
Yeah.
as far as some fundraising. So if we can push them to do some things, and then we have some support in addition to that, then we can get there.
Get some buy-in
and
from them,
honestly,
basically.
Yeah.
Having
And this is a really good
a
opportunity.
specific thing
Good.
that we can ask people for,
Right.
people were more willing to donate if we're buying flowers for this or we're doing specifics.
people are more willing to donate.
That's true.
And once, however many years it takes, we get it to a point where, you know, it's back to being a formal, you know, manicured garden, maybe we could lay down some rules for future people coming in, because, you know, we all change, the board changes, and it's right, but we want to keep it in line with the formal gardens of the Callahans, which they were very simple. They actually were simple.
Did they ever, write down when that was done, it was what, like 1906, part of the big
Well, you got the
renovation?
pictures, you can.
Was there any history or anything like documented?
No,
not
Turns
really.
always ask that
The only
question.
history that is documented is a letter from Alice to the board. It's in the scrapbook. It's also been published in the newspaper. But she describes some specific things of where, you know, interior stuff came from and who did it. And the landscaping, the designer and the gardener, and some specific information about trees and things. So she identifies those things in her letter. But other than that, there is no, I've never seen any kind of formal
Has
A
any,
landscape plan.
landscape plan, yes.
has any research been done on the designer?
It can be, if you'd like, I can give you the names there. Did we even put them in the, I think I even listed that in the Callahan brochure that we hand out. You know, we hand out two, the one about the Callahans in the house and the other about preservation and restoration.
Right.
Well, the one about the Callahans in the house contains names of who was involved, and that I'm sure.
So you're thinking that
Would-
somebody would still have
But I'd
that?
like to
Possibly.
see if, I don't know if there are the photographs, we have some rare photographs of 1900 something. But what about 1938 when they handed it over? I mean, by then they had lived here a while, they probably had done, I mean, some of the flower beds they might have put in, we don't know. I don't know, unless there's somebody can dig up a picture in the later
So
20s.
it could have still been maintained the way they liked it, right up until then.
Yeah, I'm sure they added, I mean, everybody, if you live in a house 20 years, you're adding flower
Yeah.
beds and stuff, so.
Well, yeah, Karen, if you have anything that you can put forth for that kind of thing, and then Anne, you wanna put together
Yeah.
a summary of the plan moving forward, and then we'll set a meeting with folks and.
That'd be great there.
Okay.
Thank you. Alrighty, let's move along here. Holiday open house, holiday decorating.
Can you start with the first part?
Decorating or?
No, the open houses.
Oh, holiday open house?
Open
Yes, because it's plural. So we have one on the, do I have this right? On the 7th? On the first, there's one on the 7th that's just a general open house.
1st and 7th, yeah.
The 7th, or the 1st is the Santa open.
Santa, yeah.
Okay, so, when is the Santa open house going to be publicized?
November
It was not in the
20th, I
recreation
believe.
book.
It'll be one of those blasts that come out.
So it's just gonna be only coming out from
Yeah,
the
it should have
screen?
been in there, in the brochure?
It wasn't. I've been using, some of the stuff that's published in the, recreation books for, information about this year, for the scrapbooks. So I've been keeping stuff like that, like the garden tea party in May. I just brought these 4 examples to show you, and this does identify, you know, when it was undergoing renovations, and that was summer. But, the fall recreation book does not. It has the open house, September 9th, and it has Callahan holiday open house December 7th. So it does not include the Santa open house, so I don't know.
Did
how
you
the
look at the
general-
middle filled out with the
Yeah, I
events?
did. I don't know how the general public is gonna know about it, because it's not.
It's not listed.
No, here's the bit about the Callahan house, and that was specific to,
The-
Art Walk.
Well, the public
and
will
then-
know about it because it'll be full.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
So I
But,
don't,
So it'll be at the e-blast, whoever just asked.
Yeah, they
Okay.
just decided not to because it filled up so quickly last year, I'm not sure.
That's
so it was.
it'd be a question for Sue Ellen, but.
Yeah,
I also know that
it'll fill up either way.
when we were
Oh, I'm
doing
sure
all this,
so.
Sue Ellen was getting married, and it could have been one of those things that
Maybe
just been,
got missed.
yeah.
And we create the fall brochure in February. That's the time
For
that.
June.
Yeah, I
Oh,
was
you're
gonna
right. I've got the
say-
next one on my brain. You're right. So she was getting married.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
I
to be fair, you know,
I
Well,
guess just for,
and that's also a heavy transition period for us at that point.
But I guess we just need to be aware of that because I don't know if we're gonna have any feedback or grumbling about that it was not put in
Advertised
recreation.
well
It was not advertised in recreation,
Well,
looked like it has
still
been
be
last year.
advertised.
Okay.
And every other avenue that.
In every other way we
And
can.
I very much, when I was at the door at the open house, I told everybody about it, about look out for the Santa
Yes.
open house will be in rec, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
blah. So, hopefully, and we've never had a problem of it not filling up.
Oh, good.
So if we get the email blast out there, and this is just something that maybe for next year we need to be aware that please let's make sure that it gets in the brochure so we don't have this, that we're excluding anybody. I don't know, that could be, I wanna make sure that we're being inclusionary in every aspect, that anybody can come for the Santa open house and the more people that are aware of it, I think it's important that it gets, next year it makes the brochure, if we can possibly.
It'll be in that connection thing, right, that constant connection.
Yeah, I'm sure it's just
And what is the date for they can start dialing in to get their reservations?
I think we're opening it up on November 20th. So it's a
And that'll be in
bit
that
shorter time frame
email.
this year, but.
I do think I have to say that it works so much better with the time slots and
The reservation
the
system.
reservation system is just
Okay.
a good send, and the fact that, you know, I still am gonna hear what Ann said on where we have it, depending on what the weather is, whether we do it in the auto house or upstairs.
The horseless carriage house or the auto house.
You know, it's something to think about. It would be really cute if it was out there. I always think of,
Little Santa's Village.
yeah,
Yeah. You could do it.
It would be nice.
That would leave the house more for people to see the decorations, because as it is now, we don't let people upstairs because it's Santa's up there, so. But then we have the second one, so that also opens it up. But
Yeah.
Well, it's, okay, yeah.
okay, but
So
then,
last year Santa was upstairs?
yes.
Yeah, we don't let people up there
Up in the
to see the
meeting room.
decorations, except for the children, the people with children. So it kind of holds off a lot of what people can see in the house.
But that also brings into question this additional decorating.
There's that.
Yeah, so we'd asked
That
everybody
would
to
take
bring
more
their
planning.
calendars to see, or anybody that we'd love for help with decorating the house, so, times that work for everyone, and I assume weekdays would be good, that's when Jacqueline's usually available, so her and Betsy can help set stuff out, and then you all can
At this point, I
Go
don't
to
think
from there, yeah.
I don't think we have enough, to make a cute little Santa's Village in there. I think we would have to start planning earlier than, like maybe February of next year.
Well, we
Because it
have
would
enough-
take a long time to get all that
We
stuff.
have enough decoration actually to go out there because we used to
Okay.
decorate it and yeah. So there's enough decoration. Now, we wouldn't be able to make it into Santa's whatever, but it can be decorated. So there are enough decorations.
So it's something.
Well, maybe we should see what that space looks like.
Yeah.
Because right now it's still storing old
Yeah.
stuff from the project.
It's not right where we want it to be right at this minute. Brittany's actually had some ideas on trying to move forward. The oven is still out there, that company that was just struck out, trying to get it in the house, and so we'll have you circle back with that here shortly. And so it's just not
Maybe
quite
that-
where it was.
maybe
So I
we'll
think
take
it's
it off
probably,
the-
I think it's an idea for
Not
next
for
year.
this year.
Yeah, not this year.
But
With
it's a
the
good
oven
idea.
sitting there,
Yeah,
that
that's so fun.
Yeah, that slows
It's
down.
got
That space needs a
He
rebate.
does have to
Baking
be
cookies or
We
something.
can bake
Cookies,
cookies.
right?
So,
So then at this
Yeah,
time,
setting
our
time
plan would
for-
still be
We'll
for
do
the
business as usual.
Santa open house that is gonna be Santa upstairs as
Right.
usual.
As
And that's reservation only on that day, but the 7th is open.
Yeah, we
for
have
all.
the 7th now, so that's another thing.
so time
that's
for
really good.
decorating, because that needs to happen.
Right.
I think we talked about what, before Thanksgiving,
Yes.
so, yeah.
Yes.
So what works?
Or did we decide, or didn't we decide?
Thanksgiving is the 23rd, right? Yes.
No.
Really?
stay after the next board meeting or have it totally separate.
I would suggest a separate day.
Okay.
What about the 15th?
November.
Yes.
21st.
We've got, so a Wednesday, there's gonna be clubs in the house, which I think could be difficult to work around.
What are
So
some days
I
that
would
you
say,
Yeah, what would you suggest?
is, well, I mean, basically the options then are, the only Wednesday that there's not clubs is the last of the month, so that would be right the day before Thanksgiving, which is probably not. Or the 29th would be after Thanksgiving, which might be fine. It's not like anyone's coming here before that and expecting
Right.
the decorations to be up.
Yeah.
So the 29th is a Wednesday, if that's good for people and there are not clubs.
Let's do it. I look good on the 29th.
Yeah,
Are you guys
it's
are?
open for me.
Could you send an invite for everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of
Because
timing?
otherwise we forget.
I would say a little bit later so that we have time to get the decorations out. And maybe we could do
Wanna
that.
come at like 10?
10-ish.
10?
Yeah.
And then we work as long as we can. And the other discussion was that we were considering redoing the tree in the front to a different color scheme. Is that not gonna happen, or we just continue with what we've got?
I think let's look at what we have. And if somebody really gets excited about wanting to change it up, perhaps that might be one of those personal contribution opportunities.
Right.
Exactly. So.
I think it's,
I think this year probably best to use what we have
Yeah, I would
and make
say
a plan.
it's getting a
If
little
we
dull, but.
need different things for
we
next
can
year,
change
then we
it up.
can know that.
Well, if you guys think about what, use what we have and then say, all right, well, maybe this would be nice for next year, because then we'll send Brittany out on December 26th.
Right,
There you
exactly.
go.
Well,
That's what we've
Yeah, since she's got nothing else on that day.
that was on the discussion for last year, so this is why I'm bringing it up. Just so you're aware that some comments have been made that some of the decorations are getting a little tired.
Sure.
And so if we can have a plan that we can, for the following year, have something in place.
Yeah. Could we for this year, just, it doesn't cost much money, just get new ribbon? I mean, that ribbon is.
Okay.
Pick out the
Yeah, I mean,
ribbon that's suiting to you.
Pull out what there
Yeah.
is and work with what there is, and then if we have needs, a couple small needs before this year, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What colors ribbon are you
I
using?
just want something that pops a little more. I mean, it's more of a muted color now that they use, and it's, I like bright, really white even.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Snow is white.
Well, let's get stuff out and decorate, and
First
then we
false.
can make some decisions out
Right.
there.
Why we have
Yeah,
color
yeah.
scheme
That's
is
good.
just-
Why we can pull out what we got, and if we're not loving the ribbon, we don't put the ribbon on the tree, and instead we go hunting for ribbon that we like.
Yeah,
and
I
we'll
guess
put
you
it on
gotta
the tree.
kind
It'll
of
be
fit
fun.
it to the,
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Because we've got to fit it to the ornaments.
So it's not that far away.
Yeah, no,
I guess
agree.
it's 10 a.m.
but I definitely
Yeah.
think the ribbon is.
So
Is there an
te-
estimated length of time? You probably said.
It
so.
tends
I
to,
don't know.
we tend to decorate, we also tend to stay for lunch, because it tends to be a longer day.
Takes a couple.
It takes us a
Okay.
couple hours.
Lunch.
Yeah.
We did in the past.
And actually,
Make up
we
some
go out
history
to,
of
and
that.
everyone would, it's by your own.
By your own.
And so, but that was a way for us to also support our local downtown
Businesses.
businesses. So that's
Okay.
what we used to do. I don't know if you want to continue.
I
that.
saw an opportunity, sure.
Do you also, have you in the past set a tear down day?
Yes,
Okay.
Oh,
we do.
that's-
But last year, no, we
Last
didn't
year we
tear it,
didn't do it.
Jacqueline.
Yeah,
Jacqueline
she
did
is
all
now.
of it.
Because, she can do it little by little. She's here, she did it.
And she packs and organizes.
Yeah, she's
I'll
very
talk to her and
fast.
see how that works, it might be better to do that, but.
Yeah.
they'll probably
If-
decorate
if-
themselves.
So they're getting it thrown in a box.
Again, if it's taking too much staff time, that's why we're here as a board, we're here to volunteer, so.
Okay,
All
so
right.
November 29th, starting at 10 o'clock.
That's what
We
I
will
think.
decorate.
And then do we go ahead and set a tear down day, whether we're part of it or not, just so we have it? If needed, we have the
I'd like to
ability.
chat with Jacqueline
Yeah,
and
okay.
see, harkening on how well that works last year and then go from there.
We can decide at the next board meeting too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's early enough.
Or even in
If we need
December. Right,
Yeah.
We're leaving it up for the whole month, so.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the one thing that we all probably need to just put on our calendars and anticipate is the time that we'll be here for the events.
Yes.
Because we all do need to be here for the entire time of each of those two events, both on the
Do we
first
wanna
and
go ahead
second.
and schedule that? if we can?
Just put it on your calendar now, block yourself out for the first and the seventh.
Are they
We'll
starting
talk about
at,
times
are they
later,
both starting at 4:30 or 4?
3:30 Santa.
I think it got
Moved up?
changed because there were different information, different places, so we did something that would accommodate all the information.
You wanna do
so-
your invite when you send out
let's-
the November 29th?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
finalize times in November.
Okay, but you'll send out the invite so we have it and place it on our calendars now,
Yeah.
please.
Thank you, for those days.
The Santa's at 3:30 and the December 7th open house, it's starting at 4.
4, correct.
That's when it begins, but yeah, times that we need to be here.
We need to be here earlier.
We'll
Yeah.
talk about them. But just block yourself out first and second.
Okay,
Alrighty.
all right, can we move to new business? Alrighty, I think Brittany will probably talk the first one, rental prices and club fees for 2024. I think we kind of covered that last time.
Introduced the idea that it would be changing, so we're still finalizing that, we'll probably have it here in the next week or so. But the basic structure probably is that rental prices will increase by the hour, but we're going to streamline our processes to be more in line with other venues in the area and let catering take over some things that Callahan House has been doing, which just makes more sense for us and for them and for being consistent with the market and how that functions. But don't have those final numbers for you, probably have them for you next month.
Question, and I know I've brought it to this, are we opening it up for different caterers or are we
Yes.
only using one specific?
We're gonna be doing that probably in the beginning of next year.
And
Okay,
we're still, I think, talking about preferred caterers and not.
But currently we've got one.
2.
I-
3 technically,
I
but 2
didn't
we
say,
suggest.
I didn't say we wanted to have one caterer.
Yeah.
No.
We
We
definitely want to
need
have
more
preferred
than-
caterers.
Yeah.
Caterers.
Yep, that'll be
Plural.
opening up and kind of, like I said, streamlining our process so that we can concentrate a lot more on community programming and being in line with how caterers are used to, like, they've been kind of making accommodations for Callahan House, which is nice, but we want to also, like, for our vendors and our clients, be easier to work with and be more, like I said, streamlined with what goes on at most other similar venues.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but handing over those processes means that we need to recoup some of that some of that income for us by raising our prices, our hourly, so.
And that's
We've not
gonna,
done since 2021 and.
that's gonna affect
We wanna
clubs and
be
everything too.
inconsistent. Clubs, yes, I do kind of have the final on that for you, but, for rentals, yeah, we'll be inconsistent with affordable but not cheap, like venues in Colorado.
And how are we gonna let the clubs be aware of that?
Well, so that was rentals. So clubs, the changes for clubs is gonna be 14 instead of 12.
$2.
Yeah,
I think it's
nobody's gonna bat an eye, I don't believe. And then the only other change for clubs is they're going to be expected to make one total payment for all of their members at the beginning of the year rather than paying per meeting or paying per member. So those are really the only changes with clubs, and a letter has gone out to clubs this week to let them know. And
and
sure.
then you'll know when you get feedback from that letter.
Yeah, I don't imagine it'll be an issue for anybody, but obviously we want to be as accommodating to clubs as possible.
The minute you say that there will be somebody that'll.
Yeah, somebody will complain.
So,
Well, that's
That's
it,
how
that's
it
it.
is.
It's 2024, yeah.
that's next year,
So-
I'm gonna worry about that next year.
Yeah. So yeah,
And
that's
Katie's
kind
got
of
it.
finalizing the clubs,
That's
and
tomorrow.
I'll have more specifics for you on the rental changes next month.
Okay,
Great.
very good. Okay, let's move on to club affair. Does anybody have any information or?
I think this is something that probably needs to be planned to occur in
Next year.
yeah, in February or March.
This
But-
had been on the
but it's-
October,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
on.
looking forward for a long
yeah.
time, and now it's October, so it's a
And-
new business, but it may still need to
So I
be a
think,
future thing.
I think it's probably something that should be discussed maybe at the next board meeting, but it definitely is something because it has to be planned for in advance.
Can you tell me what the basics are? You're gonna invite, somehow publicize that clubs are invited to come here?
It's
or-
a time when we open the house for local clubs of all sorts to come and they purchase a table, so to speak, and that's their table that they can set up the information about their club. And we publicize that it is a club affair day, and so people can, community members can come in and it's an opportunity for them to see what all the clubs are kind of out there and available in case they want to join or
So it's like
participate.
recruitment.
It's kind of recruitment.
Yes.
So,
But it gives all of them, and it's not just ladies clubs. I mean, we have like Rotary Club and other general clubs that include everybody. So that gives
It's
the
indoors?
public the opportunity to come into the house. It
Into the
is
house.
indoors. There, we set up tables, in different set of tables, like plural, in every room. So it is kind of like a career fair, but
Could
a
you
club
do it?
fair.
If it was summertime, I don't know when you're planning to do this, but if it was summertime, you could have tables outside too.
in the garden.
Yeah, I think the reason it has been done earlier in the year, in past years, is because clubs are often just beginning their new year and they're realizing we need to add more members. And also it is a lower time of season for the house so that we're not interfering with other
Weddings,
activities that might be,
graduations.
Other events.
all that.
yeah.
Say February is pretty close, so
It
if you were
is,
gonna.
which is
Yeah.
why, it's like
So we
this
need
needs
some of
to, the talk needs to begin now, and it's just a matter of, we can use the same sort of information that was used previously to provide to clubs in the community and say, hey, we're going to host this event, are you interested? And then the same kind of format of publishing, to the public to say, this
I
club
think-
affair is gonna happen on, but we just need to know and start talking about that now.
One of us is gonna talk.
Well, the bottom line is, did any of you guys go to Unity in the Community here in downtown? I did, and it's very similar, where they have the Rotary and women's work and all of that kind of stuff, and they tend to host that through the chamber. I think we could possibly ask the chamber which groups they had come in and speak, and maybe we could glean groups off of that, because there would definitely be ones that we'd want to support, that would be a great asset to, not everything would fit, obviously. We can't fit the fire tower and other things in here, but there's other groups that would be like women's work and whatnot that would be a great asset to ask. And if we could get, not have to recreate the wheel on certain things, that would be wise.
Good idea. I would just like to say at this time, I think this really is begging for a committee.
It
I
is.
really, so rather than spend a lot of time at this meeting talking about it, does anybody want to head up a committee? Or? Look at you.
She has
I
done
know,
everything.
I would like
Okay.
someone else to take the lead. I would
Yeah,
I'm
if
happy
anybody-
to help,
but
and
this-
I can share information,
Yeah.
but I'd like someone
No,
else to
that's
take the
fine,
lead.
that's fine. This is a volunteer type thing. But I really think we need to take it off of the general board meeting here and move it to a committee. So think about it. Anybody, maybe at the next meeting, somebody will have come forward to want to. Or call during, if you get during the month.
I'd be willing to serve on it, I just can't at this point, with everything that's going on, I just can't take it on this.
And I can beg off because I won't be here. I have time out in January, or in December, so I won't be here. So, okay, let's leave it at that. At the next meeting, we'll see if we have enough interest to get a board or get a committee up. But I don't think we can talk any more about it until we get that. So,
But it is a special thing that the house has done in the past, and
Yeah,
it's
it
worth
is
doing. It's good for the community, it promotes club participation, and not just clubs that come to the house, but clubs throughout the community. And it promotes volunteerism, I mean, it's a
It
reach
also-
out to the community for them to come and see
It
the
also
house
brings-
meeting.
until we get a committee.
There's a lot of
It also
positive,
elevates the house into the
multifaceted
community, so
things.
it's a good,
It's a good service.
It's
to
a
the
good
community.
service, it's a good idea, but everybody think it over and maybe at the next meeting. Okay, can we move on just because of Okay, review future house restoration and preservation. I think we kind of covered a lot of this. I mean, the gardens are, we've covered. I don't want to talk about that anymore. Anything else to bring up about the house?
Can we look at?
Yeah, I think the idea is to get
Is that done?
Do you have
kind of
this?
a complete, yeah, but thank you.
I can do, it's the same list that we provided in the report to
Yeah.
city council.
And
And I think there was just a matter of, let's go through and cross out the things that are done, and then let's look at the things that are most pressing.
some of this are things that Empire, who did the exterior restoration, is reached out again, still waiting for a final quote from them, but I think they're getting close for the interior projects such as this. And the upstairs lamp and some things like that. So some of this will be able to be part of that, not all of it. Some of it's a lot more ongoing, but yeah, I mean, I think we're going to be. Some of this is part of the CIP budget that we'll be working on next year for future years. So I'm not sure exactly how to approach this. I guess I think the capital improvement projects, money gets put forth for years down the road.
Okay, obviously, because we're discussing it now, this could be discussed next month in old business. Can we get a new sheet of things and just highlight what we're working on or what's in the project? So we're all saying, okay, these are projects that.
Yeah. So this was the last that you all put together, I mean, previous to when I was on the board, I think, and then there's some other things that have come up that I've got a list, so
If we
what I
could,
can do for next month is compile all of that, check off what's worked on and what still needs to be done, what can be part of what Empire is putting together for us now, and what is future.
thank you.
And revisit that next month.
I can bring on to it,
Okay, that'll be
or
next month.
if you want a soft copy of it, I can email it to you.
I believe I've got one, but I'll double
So
check.
and we'll try to, you'll put that together, we'll have it in the packet, and please everybody review that, cause my intent would be that we go down the list.
Yeah.
And I wanna hear from you guys what your guys' thoughts on priority might be. You know, again, we ask some of the things we look to pay for, right? Like the projects that Empire we hope to have work on. Other things we ask, and so what would that priority be? What would the priority be on things that we want to look to pay for?
Beautiful.
Sounds good.
So has the request or the ask for the CIP already been submitted this year for next year?
That happens in March.
Okay, so in March of this year.
I'm gonna.
What else is gonna be?
What amount
I'm gonna
of
compile
what
a
project did you
list of
submit?
all
Was
the
it
projects
just
that
pointing
we
just
discussed,
60,
and,
something like that, $1,000.
Check off
That
what's done,
we
what
expect
can
to be
done
turned
for
down
next year, and
That's
what
okay.
is
It was
future.
turned down.
Okay,
And we'll-
so
it'll be in the
this is one of those
November
things we
packet.
should look for a grant project to fill
Put
it
it
Okay,
on
out.
the
so-
list.
It's
So I
been on there
think-
for 3 years now, I think.
So I think if we can include in the minutes that what was requested in this year, 2023 CIP, was for pointing
And it was done.
work of the building, that's the mortar.
What are we getting into discussion?
And the amount that was submitted to city for CIP for that project was around 100,000 or so.
No, it was between 155 and 175, I think.
Somewhere between 155 and 175. And the purpose of this is only so that going forward for a future grant, we can say, we've been trying.
Well, I have a
And
CIP
it's-
record from every year.
Oh, well, that's good.
I mean, it literally shows Callahan house request every single year, that's what it's in.
Yeah.
That's
So
helpful.
that's good
That's
to know.
helpful
It's
too.
good to- yeah.
Every request we put in is.
Beautiful.
is there.
And again,
But it's
we
just-
expect it to be turned down, but that's in some ways works good for us because then we can then take it out and try to look at a grant that
Yeah,
will fill
once
it.
you get to that, okay. Okay, I'm just trying to move along because we have an
Mhm.
updated video parameters discussion. I know that might take a little time, so
Okay.
let's move to that. Somebody did a lot of work here.
Well, I'd like to just say, so this was kind of everything that we've talked about so far,
It's all
and we can kind of, I think the details of the technical side of things are just here for us to see, but really I think what we need from you all is content, what exactly we want in the video content wise, who might be appropriate for interviews, archives, and keeping in mind that the video is meant to be complementary to the existing and not replacing is what you all had wanted. So yeah, so some of the technical stuff is just kind of here.
Yeah,
so
that was
it's
good.
in one place, but I think more what we wanna talk about is content.
Right. So first of all, how about the length? What do we want, like 30 minutes? So they all know.
Previous, I think, was 36, 37,
So
something like that, so.
we want round numbers. We could go with this, you know, I mean, it doesn't have to be exactly the same as the current one.
Right.
We could kind of try to, I would say 30 minutes. Anybody else have any ideas? Approximately.
I would toggle between 30 and 45 depending on the content.
So you want to give a range,
I agree.
basically. Okay, so
Something
Is
that
that-
fits into broadcast.
does 45 seem a little long?
No, because if you think about it, any kind of program that you might see could be like an hour-long program or
If you think about
45 minutes is
30 to 45 minutes is, and again, one of the things that I had hoped is that we could possibly get this on PBS. That's
And
right in the time.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. I
That's what we
gotta have
want.
time for commercials.
Broader.
An hour show is 42 minutes on their show.
Isn't that, yeah?
See, there you go.
there you go.
So right
There you
there, so, okay, we wouldn't want to go over 45.
Yeah.
Another thing we'd want to talk about is how closely does it want to match, you know, as far as content, the existing, which, I don't mean in looks, I mean in information and stuff. I mean,
I think the
historical information.
I think the information is going to be more complete and more accurate.
So how we, like, so
There's
when we talk to, like, whoever talks to the people who are potential bidders on this, we need to tell them, what do we want to see? You know, do we want to see a lot of color pictures of the house or videos of the house? They have to have some idea what we want.
I would suggest that they read the handout that we give our guests about the Callahans, because it does talk about the house in general and the gardens. But then also, I would suggest that they read through the docent's guide.
So we need
Because
to
that is
give
very
them,
specific to each room.
Right.
And so if we give them those two documents and say, you need to capture this content.
The docent's guide and
The handout that we give the guests,
When
that
they
is
walk in the house.
The
the
house
Callahan,
tour.
the house and the
The self-guided
yes, the self-guided tour.
and then we want the gardens to be featured too, do we want?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we need to tell, yeah, they
Yes,
should
but
know
it's-
what we want to see. So they don't
the
come back with
gardens-
complete history and no gardens.
No,
Right.
the gardens are included in that handout that goes to the guests and in the docent guide.
But we might wanna let them know what our emphasis is.
Okay.
And I think that's down here, what's included in our,
Alright,
that request for.
but to include, yeah.
Yeah, so we want out of 45 minutes, if we want at least 20 of it, you know, I mean, how, you know, we could kind of give them, I'm just trying to keep it, the playing field equal, so that everybody trying out kind of knows very well. That way somebody won't be just, okay, this guy didn't give us enough of this, so throw that one out, you know, we want them to kind of have a good idea of what is wanted.
I think we do that by giving them these details, by giving them the docent guide, by giving
Yeah, I
them
got that written down.
And see what they do with it.
Yeah, I
because
think so,
because it's
because they're
their-
the creative
they're
ones.
the
Yeah.
creative
Yeah.
ones,
The
and they might
content's
actually,
there, they can capture that content in a creative,
and
it's
they
like-
might come up with ideas
trust
that we would
their-
never.
That's
think.
And that they
Otherwise,
should
we're
give
more
us a
restrictive.
draft.
yes.
I didn't want to be restrictive, I
draft
just wanted
script.
them to know that we had
Mhm.
things we wanted to
Mhm.
have in there.
And then by
All of
handing
that
out,
detail, we
that's,
want
we
in
want
there.
all of
So,
that
the
detail.
docent guide,
They may
And
be
the,
creative and doing a great job, and we
sure.
want to look and see
Exactly.
before they get going.
Yeah, before they spend too much
They-
time into it. we
So
wanna
that's
see
like
it.
a draft script.
Yeah, we
They
should
would
see
give
that.
you a draft
Yeah.
script.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can say, you're kind of going the wrong direction here, you know, we
Uh,
like it, but go this way a little bit. or something.
For the most part, before they start a project, most people will come in with a draft script that you can go through and then redirect it and go from there, and that's just one of those things.
But how much of that do you do before you even award the contract? That's what I'm saying, because, right? I mean, we're not gonna have any.
I think when you're,
They'll come in with for the most part, when they bid.
yeah, I mean, I think the idea of giving, here's the bulk of the information, and then you see, let them come up with something.
Yes.
And, because that's not what it has to be. But what you'll end up with is the field and the cost.
Yeah.
Right.
Between A, B, and C.
Okay.
B, and C.
Yeah.
And
Which is fair.
and then you'll like one. And then when you get that one and you say, all right, we like this, but now that's when we really zero in
okay,
at that.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Sounds good, yeah.
So just basically giving them our documents that we have, and then maybe giving one of those CDs so they can at least look at what was out there
Absolutely.
prior,
Mhm.
previously.
Absolutely.
Okay. That
Because
does-
I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but what I've heard concerning, we want to pay honor to the one that was done. We're not trying to replicate it. We're
Right.
trying to,
Right,
Or replace it really.
and we're not, but we don't want to just not take that. There's some information in there they're going to want to use for sure, plus our stuff that we have in this new one and then enhanced. That's
Right.
what I'm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's not like part two. It's
No.
it's
That's right.
Its
It's
own,
an
it
part
should,
one again
It's
plus
enhancing
part
part
two.
one.
it
Yeah.
should be its,
Right.
its
Yeah.
own document, it should,
Well-
its own
Right.
material that stands on
Absolutely.
its own.
Yeah, yeah.
okay, so that was easy. Alrighty, anything else? I don't think so. Okay. Any
So,
item?
I'm sorry, next steps for that then, is there any other, I mean, that's pretty vague, which is fine, but, any other content, like, are we ready to move forward for me putting that out,
Yeah.
or?
I think
Good,
so.
so,
Because they'll help us get those parameters in place.
Okay.
The parameters are very broad when we do these RFPs,
Okay.
so. Yeah,
RFPs tend to be broad.
yeah.
when you're
Yeah,
doing
because they
it.
have to,
That's,
and you're gonna help me.
artistic license there too.
it is.
Exactly.
But I just
With-
wanted to
with
get
that
You just shake your head, it's like, you're on now, flood, swim.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Do we know when those, will the board be notified when the RFP is out there and where it's
Yeah,
gonna be and
absolutely.
have access to all that?
We'll send out an email when it's.
Beautiful.
You know what, Brittany, you may want to also give them the restoration preservation handout too, because it does speak
Cover.
to, some things that have happened in the garden and so.
You can glean
Give
information
them-
from it.
Yes, give them all three of those documents, the documents,
Our big main
Historic
documents that
and
we've
the
got.
preservation and
Do we
restoration.
want like the
Because
recent
then they
grant
can
work
do what they will with it.
involved?
Well, that's for that, I think that's what she's talking about.
Well, I mean, like the
No.
specific, no, she's talking about the preservation,
That,
restoration
It gives a,
preservation
um,
importance handout.
it gives an overall understanding of the upkeep and the maintenance and the continued,
Right.
I don't know that
Do
we
we
wanna
want
do
like the
grants.
Which
specific
I
grant, the
don't
specific grant
know.
work involved or not?
it's
Because
not that bad.
That might
It's
be
not, but it's
that
a
might be
big
for-
deal,
for-
it's a
after
big
it.
deal
Yeah.
that in this
you
year.
don't want to overwhelm
Yeah.
either.
Yeah,
But if
it's-
there's just, maybe you don't give all the details, but
No.
but the point needs to be made
Well,
that in this year,
2023, this
lots was done to.
Because they could briefly
The
touch
press
on it.
release, the
we-
press release for the,
We share the press release, but we don't wanna overwhelm them, and again,
Exactly.
some people might take that ball and go and do research and figure it out on their own,
Brittany,
but we'll figure it out.
just make a note I think that's a good point.
And they
You
should-
just add that in the narrative.
another
well,
thing,
just
press
put the
release
press
in there.
release.
It's not, we'll into the narrative for the bidders, we'll add in just about the, just.
I think we should also kind of move slowly a little bit, especially if we're gonna be, this is gonna be a long-lasting video, hopefully. And so if we can make some of the repairs to the garden before they take the pictures of it, because otherwise we'll have documented what it is now. You know, so we do wanna talk about, like I said, if we can focus on getting the fountain.
Well, if we're putting an RFP out, then we're doing it so we do it in the spring.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you wanna wait a year, then we can wait a
Yeah,
year,
you
but
have to
that's.
wait a whole year. And then when you're only gonna have a certain amount of change
I would-
done.
Go for making it look as nice as we can before we do it, because it's gonna be out there, that video is gonna be out
They
there
might
for
not be
years.
able to do much.
And
Girls
when
been
would the
taping out
work-
there in the spring anyway if we're
So
getting the lawn
our, you
levels.
know, it's our key, or
Our goal was to have it for next spring.
But the
And,
work would
but
be
spring
done in
could be, the camera work would be done so that they can do outside as things are blooming. And by spring, I mean, after everything is planted,
Right.
hopefully
We're
after we
talking
have some grass work
May.
done.
Right.
You know, we're not gonna have them go out and film that. It could be that it happens in September. I mean, I don't know that, but
Yeah.
we'll need to figure that out based on
I
weather and
I
what
think
we're
the
able
bottom
to do.
line is,
We will not get the garden to the level you're talking about for a couple of years.
Right,
So,
at least a couple of years.
But is it urgent that we get this out in a couple of years? I mean, in a year? I mean, what is the urgency for this video? I'm just throwing this out there.
No,
Do
that's
we
a
wanna
good
wait till we have a really pristine
Okay.
environment to do it in, or do we wanna do it?
I just don't think there's any time that anything's gonna be absolutely perfect.
you
I-
can't, you
And
can't
every
count
year you've
on
got unknowns
There's-
happening.
Right.
what you're talking about, we
I'm
cannot
just throwing
count
it out there, because this video will be around probably for the next 20 years.
I know, and
Well,
we might,
maybe when you put the garden plan together, you can think of
Well-
what would be
they could
ideal to be in the video that would be part of
They could
the.
do close-ups of flowers and not do a, you know,
Sure.
Yeah.
something
Right,
like
but
that.
I'm saying
Yeah.
certain things that are in, the first year of the plan, if those things are done, if you
Focus on
decide
those.
those would be good focal points for the video, it might help you decide, what gets done in the
Like
first year.
the focus could be the fountain.
Yeah.
The
Well-
first
Yeah.
year, that's what it's
That
gonna be.
If we have this set, that's like a card for me to play. Hey, we got a video coming in here. Can you guys?
Yeah,
Pick it up.
yeah.
And
So-
because you know what? This
That's
is gonna
right.
be around and
Yeah.
we don't wanna be known for this.
Yeah, so.
The, I
This
mean,
needs to look good.
really nice.
Let's look fresh.
Yeah, the
Areas
building looks so
outside.
fresh and nice right now, so
Yeah.
my
And
opinion
whatever
would
else
be we move forward and we.
I just
it'll
don't
be
think that,
beautiful no matter
Video
what.
those.
it's just like anything, nothing is ever gonna be absolutely perfect.
Oh, and yes,
Just work
we're
with,
not asking for perfection here, but I'm just saying, we've got a lot of improvements that I would like to do. I mean, if we're gonna make this expensive video, it'd be nice to have some of this done. I mean, because
Well, let's
Certain
move forward with the
things.
mindset that we're gonna have a video, so what's attainable and then by that time, right? Like what,
and who would be able to make that decision what's attainable?
That's-
And like a feature that we definitely would point to first as priority is the fountain, so that might be like, okay,
Yeah.
we need this done for the
We need
video.
this redone.
And so perhaps, that focus that can get done, and then in the video, they're capturing just the pretty.
Yeah, that's what I mean, I could close
Yeah.
up of the flowers, but
Yeah.
not too many long distance shots.
Exactly. We don't want a whole lot of pictures of the overgrown, whatever.
Yeah.
I get it.
Okay, alrighty, let's see, items from staff.
Manager's report is included. I'm sure everyone had a chance to review it. It's pretty basic. I hope to expand on it over time, but
You're doing a great job.
you've been working your
Yeah.
tail off.
everything that
Nice.
usually talks about, so there's no real major
Nothing negative.
tidbits in there, but it is included for your review.
What about the board, anybody got any tidbits?
I have one before you go on. We're still looking for a member and we are in open season for like another 6 days. So if anybody has reached out, I know in general, I don't know about this or specifically, but in general, it's been really slow going right now. So,
Actually, yeah, thank you for bringing that up. We don't have any applicants.
I have reached out a lot to people and asked, and it just is not a good time.
I could
You know,
talk to
you
my
need
other
to-
friend.
And it's
Yeah.
Yeah, cover it.
Debbie was.
Okay.
She was great.
Just want to make sure. I knew you were
Thank
talking
you.
about.
I'll mention it to her again.
Super.
How about Connie? We not heard back from Connie. She's been not interested in rejoining at this time.
I think she's still taking care of her mother.
She's got a lot of stuff.
I know that, and
Between that and her
folks
health
that
issues,
applied
it's
last
just-
year that didn't make have been reached out to from the city, and we sent out a constant contact, and I've sent out to some
Okay.
people that have expressed interest in volunteering, and so keep asking people, because it's due on Friday.
I've asked and asked and asked and put out there, and
Okay, and I did hear back from Michelle Gomez that if so there are 2 open positions, mine and yours. And we will move forward with who we have if, but that does mean like we don't have, somebody misses a meeting, it's much more difficult to
Yeah.
get forward with meetings, to have a quorum, so. We will still move forward with 2 open spots, and I think they also mentioned like mid-year recruitment as a possibility.
yeah, she's not like would be
June.
on.
Yeah.
All the
Yeah.
time going.
Yeah.
May,
So-
May, June, May.
so we can consider mid-year recruitment
Oh,
because in the past it was
Yeah, it's our
Yeah.
set for twice a year. The system they've set
good,
up, my
because,
understanding is twice a year.
good, because prior we were like, nope, you missed
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, and actually that
Definitely
might
yearly.
be helpful because again, we're in the holiday season now and people might be going, I just got too much to do, but
Yeah.
in the summertime.
So
So, yeah.
when things are a little slower.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Approach them in February or March.
All right, E-Blast, anything to talk about?
I was from the board, was
Oh, I'm sorry, I've already run.
I'm just gonna put out there that, I'm having a requesters meeting here tomorrow and I'm doing the tour of the house. So, I'm gonna use the little docent's guide and do all that, and we're very excited to be here. And I have heard from the members already how they're delighted, so just saying, just putting that out there.
Are you coming early with Connie or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I will.
Cool. Anything else?
And, as a historian, I would like to ask anyone who has anything from this year that you would like included in the scrapbook, if you would please.
Oh, I can send you some pictures from,
I would love pictures from Art Walk.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cindy, for the pictures.
Yeah, I wanna
from
thank the
our
pictures
space.
for the
Thank
team,
you.
are
I've
amazing.
got photos.
And it will be helpful to have some photos of the finish of the grant projects and stuff, that whatever you have, so that I can include.
I
Yeah.
am excited to see the big picture of
Yeah,
it.
you're
So
gonna
I
send
just
us a
want to make
picture?
sure that, yes, the group picture, I will. I took several because I wanted to make sure I got everyone
I'd
looking
love to
good.
have the group picture, that'd be great.
I have a personal fetish about that. I don't want anyone looking bad in the photos.
I know, I'm like that too.
And you know what, I really
That's
appreciate that,
So,
because
Yeah,
I'm always the
usually
one
with
that
the
looks.
eyes closed or something, and
I can catch you saying the words here.
right, I'm always talking.
but yeah, anything through the year, he'll just kind of take a look back and email to
I
me.
think I have some Christmas pictures too.
That's the other thing, you have to be aware of, is we do take pictures, because, the first year that I was on the board, I didn't realize that we're gonna have pictures taken, so I didn't come in my best clothing. I feel a little grubby compared to everybody
Yeah,
else.
when you're decorating, you're supposed to be.
It is so,
Yeah, you're supposed
but we do take a group picture, so just heads up.
Just heads up.
But I guess to give everyone a timeline, if you'll please get that to me by the end of this month, I would appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, can we move on with future agenda?
Yep.
Okay, E-Blast.
This basically, we talked about last month that continues to be on there. I'm sending out the constant contact of any like events or things, like we sent out one asking for board recruitment. But we had talked about if any of you all want to put together any content that's like a historical tidbit or did you know about Callahan House, I'm always open for that. So it's basically a reminder to do that if you want to and send that to me and it can just go out as a touch point for anybody that signed up for Callahan specifically to say, did you know this about Callahan House? And you know,
Okay.
I can.
Is that something that, Karen, you're gonna kill me, but you're a historian, is that something that we need to? Is that something that we could consider doing on a quarterly basis?
I think it's open for anyone to contribute to that. I'm sure
I think it's
Karen has
really
like great
lovely if the board
resources,
members
but
all feel okay with, it should not just come from the historian, and I think it's a wonderful thing if all board members can contribute a little something.
Here and there.
Here and there, hey, can we include this? And I
I
don't think
think
it has
that's
to be
one
so
thing that would
structured.
also call to attention the renovation. Is that artist, whoever his name was out and his medium or media, he's got several, planned to be out there in front of the, what do you call it, balcony? And had paintings of the balcony as it's always looked
Yes.
when he's seen it. And the day before, or the week before, day
It's
before.
like the day before.
Yeah, because he had been out there to sort of mark out his
handled it
territory, and the day before it turns green, so that day of the event, he paints
He's
green
out there painting
into
green on his paintings.
the painting. And I think we have some photos of him and
He has-
his
he
stuff.
sent
Oh, that's a good
He
thing.
was really
I think we
fun.
took a photo of him below it with his stuff, yeah.
Well, playing into this though, and we've got all the other things going on,
Is there anything that we can think of that we could put out there about our past Christmas decorations that we've thought about doing? I mean, we could talk about maybe how the teacups change, or something along those lines for the holiday decorations, or things that we do or have traditionally done for the holidays in regards to our decorations and the history behind it. Do we know anything about it?
You talking about,
To the overall board, this is just a mind blur on content of things that we could put out there that would
Be relative to the time. Like, did you know back in such and such? So this is how they
Thank you.
decorated the house, and now we do this.
Yes, thank you. You are articulating what I can't at the moment. So,
Cheers you.
somehow through that whole blurb, you got that. I'm so impressed. But basically, can we think of any things along those lines that we could put in for this next Eat Last content? Nothing?
No, because it seems like it's kind of a program, you know, set up the tree, well, the trees are set up and put the ornaments on them.
Well, maybe not decorations, but I was just thinking along those same lines of like, did you know that this was a tradition for at
The
this
board's been
time?
doing it for how many years? We could do something like that. How many years has the board actually been decorating trees for Christmas?
Ever since the
85,
Since 85?
85 years.
Oh, 85
From the
years.
very beginning,
So we
they
don't-
started
okay.
decorating it. It
Well,
was
I don't
simple.
know what we did.
but-
So maybe you can find out.
So,
maybe we
If
contact
we put out a
some-
content to say, come see the house for the holiday open house,
For
and
85
part of that is the board's been decorating
Yeah.
for 85 years.
85
Here's
years.
a photo of the board decorating, and we invite you to come see
What
it.
about,
That'd
now,
be great.
85 years ago, I know that when I went to Mexico with a friend to stay at at a casita of hers, it looked like 1950s to me. It was around Christmas time. And oh my God, was that a blast from the past. Like, they still have stuff from the 1950s up on those streets when you come to the corners. And I hadn't seen that since I was a kid. So I wonder if there is a photo that could be put in, not just here's what we did way back then, or not just photo of us decorating. Well, if you want to do that, you could. But one little total, retro.
Do you want me to go through the
Thing.
scrapbooks and look?
There are photos in the scrapbook.
Yeah.
Early.
That might make it interesting to last.
And if there is,
Draws
maybe it could
interest.
be out during the
No, it is
open house
not.
too.
It is not anywhere close to as elaborate as we decorate today. So just so you
Right.
Do you
They're
know
pretty
that?
simple.
know.
In the scrapbooks?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Plus,
know
I
one
guess here it
specifically?
would always
Yeah.
have been very
Sure. Of
formal.
course you do.
The kind of things that I was seeing on the
Of
street
course she
in
does. This is
Mexico.
why I'm just
You
like
know,
when
kind of like Cuba was
Just good
frozen
for
in the
Right.
1950s,
Exactly.
and countries like
That's what I
Mexico
thought when you
still
were
have
saying
the old. But maybe those are more popular stuff and not so traditional that would be in a house. I don't know.
well, I'm
Maybe have
curious.
candles on the tree.
Yeah.
I'm
A lot of
Yes.
Christmas fires back then. too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We don't do that anymore.
There's a reason.
Yeah.
I do.
So the e-blast is, right
Okay.
now, it's
I've
not
got
like
candles on
going
my
out
tree,
at
but I
regular
never light them.
intervals.
Okay.
It's just
the
going out,
traditional
so they have
way.
an
It seems like
event
this-
or something to say.
Is for your next
So,
meeting.
yeah.
A little closer
So-
to that decorative time.
Right.
Nice
So,
to have a.
But the point is, it's open at any time if anybody wants
Okay.
to put together.
All right.
Yeah,
tips.
maybe
we
to
kinda
have
got
an
off on a
inventory.
But I think I like it. We would definitely put something out for the holiday open houses. So I like the idea of saying, here's the history of decorating Callahan House. Here's what we did this year. Come and see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
But always open for anything else if people want to provide content.
Okay.
So
So
sorry.
we're on here, it's getting late here. Is there anything to say on our collaboration with other historical organizations, or can we push that to the next meeting?
Just real quickly, I did reach out to Elise DeSantis, connected with her. They're interested in collaborating with us. I think she and I and Llewellyn Lindquist, who runs Silver Home, are gonna get together and just say, hey, what can we do to collaborate?
Great.
And I somehow missed the idea of putting together a list of events with them that we would then provide directly to the chamber and LAVA. I also reached out to LAVA, haven't heard anything back from them, but starting that ball rolling.
Okay.
So
Thank you. Moving right along to the annual report, which this is a rough draft, which I'm going to give everybody a copy of. And rather than do a committee, I think this is something the entire board needs to be part of, so I didn't want to start a committee for it, so here's a rough draft of, if you notice the quantities when you get to it are empty. They will be empty until 2024, and then we can fill them in. Or late, very late, 2023. As far as the other things, if you have an idea that was missed or you want something, but go ahead and work on that over the month, and we'll talk about it next month at the next meeting. So that's why I waited till the end to hand this out, so you can.
I think the only thing we need clarification on was the first, in terms of house manager and staff liaison, clarification from you, Ben. Kathy was here in January,
Was she here?
here through March.
And we're trying to figure, we don't know what her last
She was
name
not here in February.
I mean, not here physically, but she was still
Yeah,
in.
I think that's correct.
January, okay.
No, February.
February, that's what I was thinking, she was still on the boat.
Through February.
Okay.
Okay, and then,
I'll confirm that,
okay. And then staff liaison, is that proper that that's listed as it is, or I am now considered the liaison? How should that be listed?
but, you know,
Historically speaking, house manager has been named the house manager. The staff liaison is a different city staff individual.
historically speaking, it could be any of us
Okay.
on a given day, so.
So we have a lot of names.
It would be one of,
Yeah.
it's been.
I guess the way I would look at it, in the way we would like to have this go, as Kristen gets more comfortable with, maybe she would be the staff liaison.
Right.
But
But
you can put down
But
Kristen.
for now, for this year,
how
this
it's
is
listed
correct.
is
I
probably
just put down
appropriate.
me.
Yeah.
Just you?
That's fine.
Okay, and then
Okay.
next year they can have, okay. And then look over the overviews if you want to add, subtract, do anything, but that's to look at here. We don't have to talk about it now, because that's why we waited till the end, so.
Okay.
Because this is the report of the whole year, and you, Ben, you have been the staff liaison, but so is Sue Ellen, and we want to report that she
See, I don't,
was.
yeah, I didn't put in all of it. I think.
Yeah, I think you
Don't
should.
Just leave it how it is.
When
I don't
do you
think
want
anybody
this
needs to left
input
out.
by the next meeting?
Yeah, and look it over, make notes.
Yeah, for historic
It's
purposes,
just that it's separate from the house manager, is what I was trying to
Yeah.
state.
it's
But
always
it
been
doesn't
staff.
have to be, I mean, it doesn't.
But it's
it
always-
doesn't have to be.
In the past, it's always been
But she's
separate.
still staff.
Yeah, it's a staff member.
Right.
The house manager was not always a staff member, so that's why there's historical.
You might want to
House
put,
manager
yeah,
is a staff member.
you definitely might want to look at the future goals. I'd only listed a few,
Okay.
you know. Have at it.
I appreciate that you have given us time to
Yeah.
take this back and reflect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
To look at, think about.
but I like that everybody as possible, you know, to.
Get to insight.
Yeah. Okay, is there anything else we need to talk about? In which case, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
It's 11:05.
Do we